everybody, it's me Fengling here, and today I'm going to talk about how comic books could help us learn. This video should actually be yesterday's, but I actually went to my friend's house, so I did not make it, so I'll have to make it today. Now, why did the speaker become interested in comic books when he was young? The speaker actually became interested because like when he was in 5th grade, then a comic book that he bought in a bookstore actually made a strong impact on him because it combined the worlds and experiences with pictures in a really creative way, and he immediately became fascinated with that way of expressing himself. So eventually this interest influenced his career, and then he became a comic writer and also a teacher. So he actually found a way to balance and actually create another way of learning for his students, but this will be for another question. Now, why did Gene originally believe that comic books did not belong in the classroom? Well, when he was a student, then comic books were not treated seriously because most teachers would believe that they would make the students less focused on the lesson, and then they would eventually ban comic books from classrooms. But his teachers did not use them for teaching, or they would not include comic books at all in teaching. But then when he himself became a teacher, then Gene actually found a way to make his lessons more interesting and fascinating for his students. What happened when Gene first tried to bring comic books into his classroom? Well, at first he thought that by mentioning that he is a cartoonist would make the students see him as a cool teacher. But his students were not impressed, and sometimes they just used the comic books to distract him without actually treating them seriously. And when the lessons became difficult, then they would ask him humorous questions about superheroes, and then that would not make them focus. So he realized that just simply bringing the comics into the classroom was not enough, so he found out another way. Now, how did Gene discover that comics could actually be useful for teaching? Well, after his video lectures failed to engage his students, then Gene found out another way to cheat, which was to write comic books about that lecture. And then he drew the information quickly and gave the comic pages to his students. And surprisingly, the students actually enjoyed those comics, and then even asked him to create even more, even though he was right there and not absent, so that he could just explain to them in person. But then they just convinced him to create the lectures and turn them into comic books because they were so interesting. Why can the combination of words and pictures make comics effective for learning? Well, comics would comics communicate information through different methods, both written language and visual pictures. So this would help the students understand the ideas more precisely, and images could also provide some context that would make the information more memorable for the students. So this actually helped the students engage more in Gene's lectures. Why have educators historically been reluctant to use comic books in classrooms? Well, because they have had a negative reputation in most countries because they are believed to not be in classrooms. So many teachers would avoid using the comics for teaching for decades, even centuries. And Since Jean found out a way to actually use the comics without distracting the students and also making the lectures more interesting, then like educators have increasingly recognized their educational values and have been starting to use them in classrooms. What subjects do you think would benefit most from being taught through comics? Well, I think maybe history, because like right now I am not having any problems with learning history, but I think that like by seeing pictures and drawings of like historical people, like I think that it would make the complicated process of actually trying to memorize everything become like much easier. And like historical events could actually become easier to understand and memorize. So I think that comic books could actually turn the subjects that the students find boring into the subjects that are really interesting and like looked and like um yeah, interesting. After watching this video, how would you change the way you think about comic books and learning? Well, before this lesson, and I didn't have many assumptions, but I did have like a faint thought in my head that comic books would actually distract me from studying. So I just read comic books when I was like free, and I tried to not like read it during the like my lessons. But after that, then I think that maybe I could like draw like some comic books or like just small pages so that it could help me memorize more things, and I think that I could turn them into like useful learning tools. So in the future, maybe I could use like some comics that are written like on social media to actually learn like unfamiliar things and subjects. Well, thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!